as we all know, we are in the strategy quarter for our learning days. So we've got strategy coming up on the 18th of November. The idea for this session really came from the strategy section that deals with the framework for dominating your industry. I think we can all relate to the fact that at the moment, there are so many tools and information at our disposal, but I think the biggest question is, how do we deploy this in order to make sure that our brand has prominence, and that our brand has personality, and our brand speaks to innovation and use the innovative tools that we have at our disposal. So I'm going to hand over to Leigh-Anne, who is a leading brand expert in the country. And she's going to take us through some unique tools around how you position your brand in the current climate, business climate that we operate in. So Leigh-Anne, over to you.
Thank you. Afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining the session. So yeah, my name's Leigh-Anne. I run a consultancy called Licorice Inc. And essentially what we do is we help companies define and deliver the passion and purpose behind their brands. What I'm going to share with you today is really just some insights and some tools on how, while going through the strategy section of the book, you can start to consider your brand and your brand positioning. What was really interesting for me reading the section in the book is how similar the processes are for defining the business strategy and defining the brand strategy, with a few extra kind of buckets that one needs to consider. So I'll get straight into it. So essentially, when we do engage with organizations, the first kind of question we ask is, what is a brand? Because everybody has very different views or viewpoints on what constitutes a brand. And the most common, I suppose, is that a brand is a logo. It's the visual manifestation of the organization. It's the colors. It's the pretty pictures that marketing puts out into the industry. And I mean, technically, yes, it is. It is an identifying symbol. It comes from the concept of branding something and making it your own. And it's what distinguishes a product or company from its competitors. But the reality is that it can be so many more things than just that. It could be a shape. It could be an icon. It could be a song. It could be a person. I mean, if you take Richard Branson, for example, I mean, is Virgin Branson or is Branson Virgin? And would Virgin be the same without Branson, or wouldn't it? So where does that brand equity actually lie, and who is building that brand reputation? Is it marketing or is it him? So these are all of the fundamental questions that you start to delve into when you think about branding. But one of the most interesting exercises that we do is called, can you survive your brand being smashed? And I always use Coca-Cola as an example because it's a perfect example. I mean, the brand is 134 years old. It is currently, the brand value, and that's the value of its trademark, is about $37.9 billion, which is double that of its closest.
Leigh-Anne, I think you're on mute.
Oh, did I jump off there?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, guys. So sorry, I'm not sure where it stopped. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're back to hearing you. We stopped at the brand being 134 billion, I think. Something.
Okay. So, I mean, it is the most recognizable brand in the world, and it's not by chance. So Coke has done a number of things right. I mean, the first one being, in 1915, a guy by the name of Earl Dean was given a brief, and that brief was to create a bottle that would be recognizable in the dark. And if you smashed that bottle and picked up a piece, it would be fundamentally recognizable as part of the brand that it belonged to. And I think if any of us have held a traditional old glass Coke bottle or walked past one on the playground when we were kids and you saw a section of it, you would automatically know that that was a Coke bottle. And that is what we mean when a brand is smashed, is it can survive being smashed. If you had to take the logo away, if you had to take the name away, would your market still be able to recognize that it was your business that was delivering the proposition? And for Coke, that is a fundamental truth. But here's another image, and another very, very recognizable brand mark that requires no introduction, no logo, no name, Mickey Mouse from the Disney Corporation. And here's a pattern. And this little pattern is the difference between a handbag costing $25 and a handbag costing $2,500 because it's Burberry. So I think at the end of the day, when you think about your brands, what's important to remember is that a brand is a promise made and a promise kept. All of these organizations promise their consumers a thing, and they deliver that thing consistently over a period of time everywhere in the world. And if you look at some of the more recognizable brands that we all engage with on a daily basis, when the way that they are positioned and the purpose, that statements that they have around what they do have fundamentally got nothing to do with the products that they create. So for example, if you take Google, Google is a search engine, but their purpose is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and easy to use. And they give their product away for free. I think Google has just become the $3 trillion tech company in the States, and their primary product is given to the world for free. You take a brand like Apple, and if you're an Apple enthusiast or loyalist, because it is a bit of a cult-like brand, you will know that you don't buy Apple because it's the best technology in the world. You have a fundamental emotional connection with that brand that appeals to you as a human being. And all of these brands follow the same type of a simple premise. They define a purpose that enables them to fulfill an emotional need that their target audience, that's important to their target audience or important to the world. If you take Disney, for example, they talk about creating happiness for people of all ages everywhere. But imagine if Walt Disney had conceived of his company's purpose as creating cartoons rather than making people happy. They would never have ventured into Disneyland. They would never have created experiences outside of the cartoon realm. And this is what becomes important, is giving your business strategy the opportunity to stretch further than just the functional bits and bobs that you deliver as a company to the market. And it is the intangibles. Disney fundamentally understands that if you get the intangibles right, you can create a unique and differentiated experience, and the profits will flow. So what is the common denominator? All of these companies are brand-led. Brand is not an afterthought, and brand is not something that is a job or function of the marketing department. It is a fundamental premise of the way that they go to market and they do business. And this is a little bit of an illustration of what it probably looks like in the majority of organizations, where you've got a business strategy, and that business strategy then informs things like finance and HR and sales and marketing, etc. Then marketing goes off and develops the brand strategy, and that generally results in communication. So what advertising are we going to do? What creative stuff are we going to put out there to make people like us? How this needs to change, and why it's important at this stage of the course, I suppose, is while you're conceptualizing what that business strategy is, you need to be thinking about what role your brand needs to play in the world. And when those two things are aligned, the way that you will deal with the other functions in the organization become very different. So let's take Disney, for example. If they're about making people happy, well, sales, no matter how much money they're going to make out of a Jaws movie, has to turn that opportunity down, because Jaws didn't make anybody happy. It was a horror. It is fundamentally misaligned with what they stand for as an organization. So those are the trade-offs that you start to make across the organization when you authentically deliver behind a brand purpose and when you align your business strategy to your brand strategy. If you're hiring to make people happy, well, then you need to hire happy enablers. There's certain people who just, when they smile, get you to smile. You need to fundamentally understand every aspect of the business and how that then delivers a brand experience that ticks the box of your purpose. But where do you start? It all sounds really, really great. But if you were going to sit down and do this for yourself, how do you actually go about it? Like, what are the buckets of work that you need to do? So the first thing is you need to understand what the opportunity is for your organization or your brand within your sector. And what you'll tend to find is that a lot of companies operate within a similar paradigm. So if we take banking, for example, 10 years ago, banking was about functional delivery. So if you took Standard Bank 10 years ago, they were all about simpler, better, faster. Take Standard Bank today, it's all about it can be. Take F&B today, it's about how can we help you. Capitec's about banking for a better life. Banks have now fundamentally moved into an enablement space, and they're trying to appeal to an emotional side of consumers. And that generally happens across categories. There's certain messages that, because of the way that the industry operates, everybody kind of hangs their hat on. So you need to understand that. What are your competitors doing? What are they saying? How they're positioning themselves in the market? And you've got to get a decent kind of view across that. Then you need to look at the stretch of your brand. So what I mean by that is, let's take banking again. Standard Bank as a brand needs to appeal to a rural banking offering, as well as a high net worth 10+ million investable assets private wealth offering as one brand, versus F&B, who F&B plays in the kind of main market space, and R&B ticks the box of that high net worth individual. Two very different brand experiences, two very different brand engagement strategies, two very different look and feels. So your brand, you need to understand, does your brand have the ability to stretch across all of the markets and audiences that you want to or need to, or do you need to look at alternative strategies to do that, i.e. a sub-brand, for example? Then you need to look at credibility. And credibility for me is the most important one, because this is how you stress test that you haven't drunk your own Kool-Aid. So a lot of businesses go out there and they promise things. So one of the first telcos I ever worked on was Neotel. I don't know if you remember Neotel. And Neotel's brand positioning was to inspire possibilities. I was heading up the strategic team at the agency, and they said, okay, we'll do us a campaign. And the question we asked the client was how? How do you inspire possibility? You have no network, you've got very few products, you've got no reach. What do you want us to say? And they spent a hell of a lot of money doing a very emotive piece of communication that got them absolutely nowhere. So the credibility bucket is really about making sure that you've got the strengths and competencies to deliver behind that purpose. You can actually do the thing that you say you can do. And then relevance. You need to understand your target audience. You know, do the people you're wanting to sell this proposition to care? Is it important to them? Does it matter to them? Is it something that solves a problem in their lives? Once you've done these 4 pieces of work, you will then look at kind of the intersection between them. And that is potentially where the opportunity for your organization will sit. You know, where you've got your differentiator, you understand your stretch, you can credibly deliver it, and it matters to your market. That's almost your sweet spot. Once you've got that pegged, you kind of then define the brand platform. And this is where your business kind of, the strategy documentation that you're working through from the Scaling Up book and your brand strategy stuff start to intersect. Because, you know, in the Scaling Up book, it talks about values, and there are no, you can't have 2 sets of values. Your brand values are your business values, and your business values are your brand values. So those would be the same. The capabilities and vision for the brand. So that's your, as the founder, your perspective, you know, where you want to see the company going. Then the personality is slightly different. The personality is kind of how your brand behaves. So the way that we get this information out of clients is we ask them to personify their brand. Sometimes we use an animal or a car, depending on who we're talking to, because it's a lot easier for people to articulate what they mean. For example, saying, well, we believe the business is a Jaguar. Why is it a Jaguar? Well, it's fast, it's sleek, it's, you know, it's a hunter, versus them trying to kind of come up with those words themselves. So it really is, if you were to meet the person that is your business tomorrow, what type of person would that be? What characteristics would that person have? And how would that person behave? And what that does is drive how you go to market. What is your tone of voice? What is the tone of your communication? Are you laugh out loud funny, or are you just slightly quirky? Then you look at your brand positioning. You take all of the information from the previous slide and you coin that kind of one-liner positioning that says the kind of space in the market that you want to own. And then your brand proposition is very similar to your, well, it is your brand purpose. So what is the purpose of the organization? What is the most inspiring and compelling thing we can convey about the brand to the audience? The drivers then support that because that is the credibility pillar there. Well, how will you deliver this thing to the market? And then what are the market opportunities and insights that make this entire system relevant? Why does it matter? And what are the opportunities that it's going to unlock for your organization? And that, in essence, is fundamentally how you would build a brand platform. Then you would take this, you would align your business strategy to it, or kind of work the two together to make sure that the business can credibly deliver this. And then you start to make the decisions across the other rungs of the organization, like finance and IT and marketing, etc. But I think, in closing, the fundamental thing about great brands is that they are built from the inside out. And I think that's the biggest change over the past 10 years of branding. Is that a brand is defined by a customer experience, and customers are more likely to pay a premium for a brand that delivers a superior customer experience. But that experience at the end of the day is delivered by people, and making sure that your people are on board, that your people are in line, and that the culture of the organization is kind of ingrained through all your people is the most critical part, I suppose. So I've got a little video. It's very old, but it is still one of the most relevant ones. And it's about when Steve Jobs came back to Apple. When he joined the organization again, the first thing that he did was get his people on board. And this is a piece of work that was done by TVWA Shite Day. And it was the internal launch of Apple's new brand purpose to their employees. So I'll just play this for you.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Cool. Thank you very much, Leigh-Anne.
You're welcome.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. Love the inside out approach. And I think what's very important is that we give Leigh-Anne a hand, because I'm sure all of us can apply that very valuable content in our businesses. What is even more relevant in our lives right now is the customer digital experience. Nobody said that this could happen, but it had to happen, that we all had to migrate very quickly into the digital world. And in the same breath, our customers also had to do that. So up next, we're going to have Darren take us through the customer digital experience with your brand. So Darren, over to you. I'm really looking forward to this presentation. Take it away.
Great. Hi, everyone. Afternoon. I'm Darren Mansour. I am the founder of So Interactive. We're a social-first digital brand experience agency. And today I'm going to take you through some customer-centric data insights that will hopefully help with your strategies and your marketing strategies going forward. Cool. So just to create a bit of context. So in the past few years, you've heard the terms customer-centric business, customer experience design, customer-centric ideas. Some of these terms are now becoming marketing buzzwords or positioning statements inside of companies. I think the reality is that the term and methodology was coined in 1960 by Lester Wunderman during the revolutionary era of direct marketing. And throughout the 1980s and the 1990s, innovation like loyalty cards, behavior, help businesses track the behavior of individuals and customers. And now in the age of the internet, the only thing that's changed inside of customer-centric marketing is human behavior and how it's tracked and the data we track it with. The thing is, we no longer sit in front of one screen and consume media through one-way communication such as TV. We live in a multi-screen, multi-channel, multitasking digital world. In this world, we have given up our personal data for convenience, to stay connected and be entertained. Marketers can now understand people like never before. We now have a window of opportunity to deliver better experiences for people that are more personalized. I mean, it's absolutely insane. People are consuming content at a ridiculous rate. I've got an awesome diagram here that shows what happens in 1 internet minute in 2020. I mean, 4.7 million videos are watched, 400,000 app downloads, 700,000 hours of Netflix, and 1.6 million swipes on Tinder. It's a lot of single people out there. But I just think the consumption of data is massive, and that's what happens in 1 internet minute. The thing is, in our current climate, is the desire to stay connected during COVID-19 has rapidly changed people's behaviors. And we can see this from the data. 70% more time of people are spending time on smartphones. 45% of people are spending more time on social media, and 36% of people are spending more time playing video games. And there's many stats that have increased through this. These stats show us that the digital economy has been fast-tracked. Your audience is online, and that's where they're going to stay. Now you need to adapt to it. The problem is, and the biggest challenge is, that everybody is fighting for our attention, especially in social media. Brands are fighting for it, businesses, politicians, influencers, marketers, even your family and friends are fighting for that attention, for those likes on their galleries. But the combination of smartphones and social media has been the most influential in shifting human behavior. It has single-handedly fragmented attention. The world of social can be extremely frustrating and overwhelming. Businesses seem to be bombarded by things changing on a daily basis, on an ongoing platforms being launched, human behaviors being shifted. And this is very difficult for businesses and brands and startups and that to break through the noise and command this attention. So what I'm going to do today, and due to time, this is a very big subject around data. I'm going to keep this focused and to the point. We're going to look at how simple social behavior and data can be the cornerstone in identifying what works and what doesn't. Keeping close to what your audience is doing online is the key to building a customer-centric strategy. I'm going to be using audience as the through line of everything I speak around today, because it's fundamentally everything that needs to be crafted around your audience. If we take a fact, 49% of consumers unfollow brands and business on social media due to poor quality product and support and customer service. So we really need to look closer at your offering. Ask yourself, the product or services, is it what we say we do? Do you support it with honest customer care and support? Do you identify that it's positioned correctly in the market? These are key things in order to build up the brand, as Leigh-Anne mentioned earlier. 45% of consumers unfollow brands on social media for irrelevant content, as well as too many ads. So the stats telling us that less is more. Focusing on quality over quantity could aid in building a more loyal customer base. This is massive. Throwing out a whole bunch of advertising with big budget behind it does not necessarily yield return. So we really got to be conscious of the quality of content we're putting out there in order to get a higher return and a better conversion rate. Brands and business need to change their thinking. A social approach to drive more personalized content, brand stories, and ads that have a positive impact on customers' lives is crucial. The thing is, the challenge, and a lot of brands are dealing with this today, and business and startups, how do you get audiences to engage with the product or service, especially in such a crowded and cluttered space? The internet or Instagram or Facebook are like standing in the middle of Times Square and getting bombarded by numerous data points. It's become chaos out there. You're competing for share of voice on every aspect. And the biggest thing that what you need to realize is that social media is culturally influenced. So when there's an election going on, or there's Black Lives Matter, or anything that's culturally relevant, your voice gets shrunk, and you've got to be looking at how do you get your voice out there. And the way is by creating human connections through relevance. The thing with relevance, it's the key ingredient to understand what your audience wants. So in our agency, we've created the currency of relevance. And what we've done is we've looked at, if you take relevant content and you place it in the right channel against the right audience, it will drive emotional and mindful connection with that audience. And this ultimately changes perception of your brand or your product to drive engagement, which leads to action. And those actions could be call to actions, downloadable documents, content, engagement, entertainment. But how do we understand that better? By using qualitative and quantitative data will inform decisions in strategy planning to deliver a more relevant communication to your audience, which should be linked to your business SMART goal. And we all know about SMART goals from EO. Setting SMART goals makes your goals realistic and achievable. Let me tell you, going viral is not a goal. It's a byproduct of great content and strategy. So how are we going to take this SMART goal and make it measurable? So I'm going to take you through a few steps to apply to your thinking when you're running through a strategy for online. So we all know SMART. Make sure it's the goal specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. And if you're not sure how to get to a SMART goal, just give you a few tips here, and some of this comes out of EO as well. You can also try future setting a goal 2 years ahead. Ask yourself the questions, where do you want your business to be by December 2022? Ask questions like, what will your total revenue be? What products are your top sellers? How many employees will you have? Who are your clients going to be? These are the types of things we'll start unpacking how you want to take it forward. So let's just imagine you're a design company with a vision of breaking R1 million in monthly recurring revenue by the time you hit December 2022. It means that you need to acquire an average of 1 client per month for a design project, whatever service you're offering, to the value of 42K. Over a 24 months, this would increase your monthly recurring revenue to December 2022 to plus minus R1. I'm not taking in churn into account here, but it's just a best case scenario. Now we've got a SMART goal. We need to land 1 client a month to the value of 42,000 Rand. And we can now take that 42K and ascertain what ads you want to spend in order to achieve that goal. So we start looking at your consideration of your ad spend investments or your content investments, how much you're willing to put behind your marketing spend in order to see a return on ad spend. Just looking at a quick mathematical sum, and this is based on industry standard. If we take 100 people per month that interact with your content or your ad, an average of 6 people will convert. You're looking at about a 6% conversion rate. Out of those 6 people, you still need to qualify those 6 people. Are they the right client for you? Do they fit your business profile, etc.? And this is where going back to your audience and making sure you're advertising or marketing or creating content for the right audience to ensure that you have a higher close rate. So how does data help us find the right customer that has an intention to buy? We need to understand the audience by using, as I said before, qualitative and quantitative data. This data gives us a whole look or a window into what people are doing online. So what are they consuming? Where do they live? So using geolocation as an example to find out, my company is based in Rivonia and I want to target localized marketing inside of Rivonia. Within that space, you can look at what are they consuming in Rivonia, where they're going out, what areas are they working in, what pages do they follow. You can also look at monetary value. So what's working and what isn't working. What do you want to double up your spend on because it's working, and what's not working that you can. Where should you invest more in? This will help target your audience with the right communication at the right time. And it also gives you a bird's eye view of what's going on. And all this data is accessible to you through the channels. This is based on a Sprout study. So Sprout Social is one of our partners, and they did a study across users to see why do they even use social media. So a lot of users want to use it to learn about new products and services. stay up to date on company news, to learn about promotions and discounts, to be entertained, and to be educated. If you really want to build a content plan or an ad strategy that is relevant, you want to attend to these types of behaviors that are happening online so that you can serve your customer with the right information that's going to actually aid them in taking forward into the buyer journey. Another thing we can look at is your marketing goals should be aligned back to your SMART goal. As we said before, we want to land one client per month to the value of 42,000 Rand. You need to decide what goals are going to give you the most bang for your buck and how much effort is required to close a lead. So here's a few things that we've looked at. We can look at awareness, we can drive conversion, generate demand, or grow advocacy. You can use all four of these, or you can choose which one's going to bring you the most bang for your buck. But if we take awareness, the type of data points that you want to be tracking in social is track how many eyes are on your content. Look at things such as at mentions, shares, links, and impressions. And by looking at that data will help you determine, is your ads, content, and information gaining the traction and awareness that is needed? Because if it's getting seen, you're creating awareness with what you're saying. If you're going to look at driving conversion, track conversion sources. Which platforms are driving conversions from what content or ads? So if you've got multiple ad sets or multiple pieces of content, look at which one's doing better, which is outperforming that content, and then double up on your costing. Rather drop the ones that aren't performing and rework what is performing or put more budget behind that. This is going to really help with you making more informed decisions with your data. To generate demand, track engagement rates. So look at likes, shares, and comments. It's a super important metric because higher engagement means your content is resonating, it's more relevant with the audience that you're applying to. So if you're putting out content out there and you're not getting much traction on it, it's obviously not working. So look at adapting it or like looking deeper into that audience to see if we're getting the right results. And ultimately, if you're looking at growing advocacy, I'd say this is the easiest one to track. Track your NPS score. Look for word of mouth referrals. So how many people are referring your brand? Look at influencer and activity. And if you're using reviews, reviews are a great way to track that as well. So just always tying back your marketing goals back to your business goal will help you align a more specific and measurable outcome. So in closing, not all platforms are alike. Facebook and Instagram are two different platforms. They need to have specific strategies for both platforms. You can't be cross-populating Facebook's content with Instagram's content because people engage with it differently. The other thing is not all people are right for your business. Data can tell a beautiful story of your audience and deliver key insights when it aligns back to your business goals. If you put your audience first in your strategy, you'll build a more effective customer-centric strategy in marketing as well as business. I love what Leigh-Anne showed around working from the inside outwards, because that's exactly where the customer sits, is understanding them better. And this data will identify the personas that you're looking for, but look at the right social media platforms. Don't get too bogged down. If your brand can't live on TikTok, it can't live on TikTok. Rather focus on LinkedIn or rather focus on Instagram. Test the platforms first before you go all in. These are like important things, and today's digital world gives us that opportunity. And benchmark against your competitors. All that information is out there. So just due to time, I'm just going to fly through this quickly. What we've done, I don't have time to go through the whole buyer's journey, but we're going to share you a link with you. And this is just a nice matrix of a buyer's journey. It shows awareness, consideration, decision, adoption, and advocacy. And what's really great about it, it actually aligns. It's a bit of a cheat sheet for you to like align your goals, what results you want to get out of those goals, what KPIs you should be tracking. Pretty much some of the stuff I've covered in this presentation. And it will also help with your future marketing strategies. Some tools in that we use in our own agency. So for tracking, analysis, and insights, we use Google Analytics for all our tracking data, including goal setups. This helps us, gives us insights to what's working and what isn't. We use Google Trends to align our strategies. So if you're looking for words you want to own or verticals that you want to see how they're performing, Google Trends is a great platform to look at search results, look at keywords, look at culturally what's been trending online. Facebook is the audience insights. There's so much data to work with there, but if you focus on some of those key metrics I spoke around, it'll really start unpacking the behavior. SimilarWeb. It's great to see different websites that are out there as well, especially your competitors or competitors in your vertical, and see how many results they're getting on their site and what's working and what isn't. We use social management tools such as Sprout Social for all our customer behavior analysis. We do our scheduling and posting on those platforms. There's other ones out there such as Hootsuite and Sendable. We really prefer Sprout Social. For your websites and SEO tracking, SE Ranking is a great platform, especially for new SEO companies that don't have the budgets for SEO. SE Ranking really tries to make it as digestible as possible to help grow your rankings in that online. And lastly, we use Data Studio for data aggregation and dashboards. A bit more of a complex system. If you understand analytical dashboards, it might be straightforward, but we really use all of this information to gather as much data as possible. But data doesn't need to be complicated. It can be straightforward if you focus again on those SMART goals, putting time-based goals onto it so that you can track against your marketing goals. I hope today you've got a few golden nuggets out of this talk. And yeah, it's been a pleasure presenting to you. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks very much, Darren. That was really good. Let's give Darren a hand. Really awesome. So Darren, there's a question from Taryn saying, what is an appropriate time frame to spend assessing each lead channel before deciding to increase or drop budget for that particular channel?
So we normally work on a 90-day period. So running something within 3 months really gives a good indication of how the channel is working for you. Also, as Facebook and Instagram start learning the audience and what content's working, it starts improving as things go on. So we like to leave it like in that space for at least 90 days to get a true reflection if the ads are working or if the content's working as well. If you've got bigger budgets, you can obviously reduce that time. But if you've got smaller budgets, it's best to run it over around the 90 days. And this is not gospel. This is just how we do it within our agency.
Okay, awesome. Thanks very much for that. I think one thing that you say that really stood out for me, and I see Elroy also captured it, is going viral is not a goal. It's a good byproduct of quality content and strategy. So that's really awesome. And I think that's a very good dovetail for us into the next session. We've got the team from Digify Africa with us, and they really help entrepreneurs like ourselves to exploit the Facebook family of apps and how we can use it to drive customer engagement and to gain customers. So I'm going to hand over to Kenelwe and Elroy, and they're going to take us through the Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp for Business platforms. Over to you guys.
All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Blessing. I'm here with Kinelo and Elroy. I hope everyone can see my screen. I just shared my screen there. Just to confirm, everyone can see my screen.
Yep.
Wonderful. Okay. Just to get maybe the introductions out the way. Today we're going to talk about some of the things of which Darren has touched upon, but we're going to maybe show you how you actually go about collecting that data, targeting the right audience and things of that nature, right? So we're going to be talking about how to scale your, and I'm your trainer for today. I'm a trainer at Digify Africa. I'm a digital marketing strategist as well, running my own business. You can get me as Bless Letwara on Facebook as well. So this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. It's something of which we're passionate about. As I mentioned in the beginning, I'm not alone. I have Kinelo and Elroy with me. If you have any questions as I present, please type them in the chat box. They'll help me answer all those questions, all right? That's basically why they're here. So the simple agenda for today, we're going to talk briefly about what Ads Manager is, all right? We'll then touch on choosing your campaign objective, which speaks to certain SMART goals and business goals and things like that, and how does that translate on social media or on Facebook specifically. And then we'll also talk about how to define your audience. You see, what type of audience is your business attracting and how to identify them, which ad format you need to use in order to accomplish these things. And then lastly, how to measure and optimize your ads, right? So that's what we're going to talk about just briefly today. First up, Ads Manager. Now, a lot of people use Facebook Ads Manager to manage different pages, to manage their ads. You get to see ad performance. You get to see so many get different metrics on the performance of your ads and your audiences, all on one app. Okay, you can get it as an app on your phone. Very, very efficient. So if you are running ads on Facebook and on social media, this is a really great tool for you to have as a business owner. If you've hired someone else, you can have the app as well, and maybe also monitor what's going on when it comes to digital marketing, social media marketing in your organization. So it's a really great tool to use. Now, Facebook gives you an opportunity as a business to sort of create targeted content. You get to sort of create an audience that best fits what you are trying to bring value to in the market. Um, you can create ads on Ads Manager. You can manage multiple ads. You can evaluate ad performance as well. So Facebook gives you a whole lot of tools that really help you understand who in the market is more attracted to what you're trying to do, what you're trying to build, right? Which is really, really great tools to have. But the first thing that you want to do when you do decide to run ads on Facebook, or if you are already, I'm just going to take you through the step-by-step process of doing that. But you'd want to have an objective, all right? You'd want to have an objective, and obviously that will come from your business goals, okay? Your smart business goals. So if you have certain goals that you want to achieve from a business point of view, and you need social media to help you achieve those goals, then it's great to define it so that you can see how you can lay it out by the time you start running your ad on Facebook or across the Facebook family of apps, all right? Now, there are three different objectives of which you can choose right from the beginning, right? And this is similar to the classic marketing funnel. I think Darren gave us just a longer version of that funnel, where when you first run your ads, or maybe if you're starting out, you'd want to create an awareness of some sort, okay? You want to best understand who your audience is. You want to have the word go out there, okay? Provided maybe you have been running ads for some time, then you're probably more trying to get people to consider or to convert. But eventually, the ultimate goal should be to convert. So if you set up a strategy where you want people to purchase a webinar or maybe sign up or maybe set up an appointment, and that is what you define as a conversion, then the funnel will basically take a shape like this, where it will get smaller and smaller as it goes by. Your data will even show that you will have reached over 20,000 people, but only being able to convert about 200 at the end of the day. That's basically how it works in industry, and that's basically how it works when it comes to Facebook and social media marketing. Your conversions sort of trickle down, and that's what you want to be looking at, and that will be in relationship to your business goals as well, which is a really great way to look at it when you are running ads on Facebook. Now, this is basically how the interface looks on Facebook. It has changed slightly from what I'm showing you now, but you'll still be able to have your way around, okay? There are three basic sections where which basically help you build an ad on Facebook and how you create an ad on Facebook. The first one is the campaign level. Okay, these are the three levels of a complete ad being run and being active on Facebook. So you'd want to start off at the campaign level, and at the campaign level, that's where you select your objective. Okay, and special ad category. All right. So you select an objective. I'll show you exactly what that looks like. The second part of your ad is your ad sets. This is where you set your audiences, you have your placement, your budget and scheduling. All these different aspects play a very important role in determining whether or not your ad will do well on Facebook, right? So you need to define your audience in this section. You define their interests. Obviously, you might have already done that following the marketing strategy on social media. So you probably do already know who your audience is, but Facebook will help you find them online, all right? And then you want to set up your budget and schedule as well. The duration of your ad, how long it will be running, how much you're investing in the ad. And then the last part is the ad itself, the format, the video, the creative, the image that you'll be using. And of course, this all needs to be in relationship with your business goals. So I think Darren talked about creating quality content as well, creating really quality content for your customers. This is where you insert that piece of creative, right? Now, when you are selecting an objective, it's either you run an awareness campaign, and you have these two options here, where you either select brand awareness or reach. All right, we'll talk about reach as we move along. Or maybe you're further down the funnel. You want to have people going to your website. You want people to engage, or maybe you want app installations, or you want to generate leads or get messages either in your messenger or maybe on your WhatsApp. You want to select consideration objective. So we want people to be engaged. We want people to go to our website. That's our objective. That's what you basically select. All right. And then you have conversions. Conversions will basically be purchases online, or maybe catalog sales, or maybe a delivery of some sort. That will be someone actually taking the action immediately when they interact with your ad. Maybe the first 3 clicks direct them to the place where they'll be order. They'll make an order and maybe make a purchase. All right. So that's what you want to look at when you are setting up your objectives. At the top over there, you'll see it says auction and reach and frequency. Okay, now you need to select either one of the two. So I won't go into much detail about the two, but in many of the ads that I run, I use reach and frequency a bit more because of the size of some of the companies of which I help, and they probably don't have the budget to compete for a certain type of audience. So when you are using auction, you compete for a specific type of audience in the market when you select auction. But reach and frequency gives you a bit more leeway in terms of expanding your budget to get the best results out of it, right? So that's something that you really want to look at carefully. If you do select in the awareness campaign, and you basically select reach, these are the 3 things of which you want to expect. Okay, you have an opportunity to maximize your reach. You can set a minimum number of days of which your ad can run, and you can use location targeting. All right, so you can basically tell Facebook, I want people in a specific area in South Africa, this specific city. I want people who are interested in music. I want people who are interested in finance and commerce and entrepreneurship, or whatever it is. You can use that location targeting to target those specific people, and Facebook will then stretch out your budget and reach people who are active on Facebook and are relevant to whatever it is that you have specified by selecting your audience. And I mean, there are over just about 26 million people on Facebook. So that's a large amount of people in South Africa of which you have an opportunity to reach. Okay. In the consideration section, I touched briefly on these few options that you have. It all depends on what you were doing. It all depends on what you were trying to accomplish. If you're a media company and you're sharing a whole lot of videos, then you'd want people to consider watching your videos. Okay. And that's basically how the entire process, the first part of the process, is laid out. Conversions as well, catalog sales. I spoke about purchases and things of that nature. If that's what you want to achieve, then that's the objective that you will select from the beginning of your ad while you were creating your ad. All right. Okay, conversions also give you an opportunity to send people to your website who will actually make a specific purchase. All right. So I always push to convert people because I realize that I get better results than having to create an awareness campaign first, especially on a small budget. I always run conversion campaigns. Conversion could be page likes, conversions could be engagement, conversions could be anything that makes people actually make a specific action. All right. So That's something you want to think about online. See how people interact online. Darren talked about understanding how your audience behaves and their interests. Once you have that understanding of how they behave on Facebook and online, you'll know exactly how to reach out to them, right? Now, define your audience. This is a very, very important part of sort of building your audience, okay? And better understanding who your audience are, okay? Now, there are three basic ways to approach this when you are creating your ad, okay? You can either target your core audiences, okay? You can select an audience um, who have page with the same type of interest, who are in a specific location, maybe people who have already interacted with your page in some sort, or you can customize your audience for yourself, and you are the one who creates the audience you're looking for, and you can actually save that audience and use it at a later stage for a different ad that you might want to run at a later stage, right? So that's the advantage you have in terms of customizing your audience. Or you could use lookalike audience. Now, these are users who have probably already engaged with your page, or people who have liked your page and friends of people who might have the same interest. So people who look like your audience, people who look like the people who are engaging already are your lookalike audience. And that's also a great one to select, especially if you're trying to grow a community of people who really care about what you're doing, people who really matter to your business. If you have a Facebook group that's pushing a specific campaign, be it a gender-based violence campaign, a Black Lives Matter campaign, it's always great to opt for a lookalike audience. And you know that these are the people who will be able to help you really stretch out your campaign, okay? Create targeted audience. You can refine your audience and refresh your ad creative, and also switch bid or budget strategy. So say, for example, you see that your ad is not doing well after 7 days or so, okay? And maybe you realize that there's a problem when it comes to your ad. Then you'll want to look at refining your audience. Maybe the type of people you've selected are not the people who are interested in your creative, or are interested in your business. Or maybe switch up your budget as well, okay? There are different strategies of which you could use in terms of switching up your budget. You can optimize as well, campaign budget optimization. Um, you can automate placements and use both, all right? So these are the basic ways of which you would want to run your ad on Facebook, where when you allow Facebook to optimize your budget, it will give you the best results to pieces of creators that are performing the best. So if you're running 2 ads and you optimize your budget, Facebook will just use your money effectively on ads that are performing better, that are performing really well, all right? And automated placements used along with SEO will give you a better maximum results, because Facebook will place your ads in places where the people you've selected are most likely to interact with it. So you don't really have to worry about a lot, because the Facebook algorithm is built in a way to help you better understand your customer and help you grow your business effectively, okay? You have automated placements. I touched briefly on automated placements as well. Now, this is basically where your ad will be placed on the different Facebook family of apps: Instagram, Audience Network, Messenger. So that's where Facebook will basically place your ads, but it will only select the places where your specific ad, is most likely to perform better. All right, that's what you need to understand when it comes to placing your ads. Okay, there's a 7% increase for reach in placements optimized REST results. So when you optimize and you select automated placements, there's a great opportunity to increase your reach, and that's a statistic which Facebook has confirmed, especially for people who are really starting out in creating ads on Facebook. All right. While you're creating your audience, I think this is the last section of our presentation. While you're creating your audience, Facebook will tell you whether or not your audience is good enough. There's a radar that shows you whether or not the people you're trying to target, the people you are trying to communicate with on Facebook, is good enough. All right. So you'd want to look at this radar to see whether it's too specific or too broad. and it will help you better understand how to optimize your audience or make it narrow, depending on your industry, depending on how many people you want to reach. But it really helps you sort of understand how your ad will perform better based on the data Facebook already has about your audience, all right? This is where you basically also select your custom audience or lookalike audience, where you create your audience according to their interest. You can go as far as targeting people according to how much they earn on a monthly basis, which is a bit bizarre, but it's something of which certain industries would want to do, especially if they are very niche, all right? So it's a really a great tool to use when you know your audience and you're trying to target specific people when running your ads. Okay. Now you're asking, okay, which ad formats are the best to use when you are running your ads? You have different types of options. You can run carousel ads, which is basically a series of images and videos of which you can scroll through. If you spend some time on Facebook, you'll know how a carousel ad looks. Or maybe you want to put up a single image or a video, all right? Depending on what you're trying to communicate, you'll decide more or less what you want to put out there. You can have a collection of videos and images where you have a dynamic experience where your audience can select certain products and watch a video at the same time in one post. You can have a video or a carousel, right? So that's basically how a carousel ad looks. It's always linked to a website of some sort where you can actually direct people to make a purchase, especially if you're displaying products in a carousel ad, all right? Lastly, measuring your results. Now, Darren spoke a lot about the amount of data available, how people behave on social media, how people behave on the internet. And this is what it would look like if you were to analyze how your ad is doing. Now, the type of information you get here is connected to a lot of what Darren was talking about, where you get to see where your audience is. You get to see how they're behaving. You get to see how many of them are clicking through to your website, how many of them are purchasing, how many of them are responding, at what times are they doing all of these things. So you are basically monitoring each and every movement of the audience of which you have created for this particular ad. You better understand how they interact, at which days, which times do they make interactions, and it just gives you a detailed information about who they are and what they would like to see more of. So you see which ads are performing the best. You see them according to their gender, according to their ages, according to their locations. There's so many different pieces of data that you can use when you're running an ad through Ads Manager that will help you build your business effectively. So you need to think about some of these things when you're going through them. Placements as well. Where is your ad performing the best? Which part of the Facebook family of apps is your ad performing the best? Is it on Instagram? Is it on Facebook? Then you will know that when you spend your budget the next time around, you'll use it on something that actually works. Okay, use it on something that actually attracts people and give people more of what they like. Okay, so if you understand your customer clearly, you know exactly how they interact on social media, you can create a product for them and you can build your business around them, around their values, around their interests. And that's basically what Facebook Ads Manager helps you to do. It's available on desktop as well, but it's always great to have the app to monitor all of these. And I think just our takeaways for today, the few things of which we've touched on. You can use Ads Manager to advance your advertising. You can create custom audience. We spoke briefly about utilizing lookalike audience as well and how to reach new audiences. And also we spoke briefly also on how to optimize and manage your advertising. So that's our presentation for today. Thank you so much for having us here. This was really wonderful. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks very much, Blessing. That's very, very, very insightful. So can we give everyone a round of applause for the effort and everything that they put in today, just to make this happen for us? I think, as I said at the start of the presentation, you know, we looked at putting this content together for the group around the framework for dominating your industry. So from my side, Darren, Leigh-Anne, Blessing, Elroy, and Kenelwe, thank you very much for partnering with EO Accelerator on this particular masterclass. We thoroughly enjoyed it. I think we've learned a lot. I speak on behalf of everyone, but we've learned a lot today. And hopefully this has equipped us to go and dominate our industries that we are working in. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a great afternoon. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.